We are live, boss.
All right, we're live, and it's a Monday again. I think it's going to be a little bit of a wild Monday. I feel upbeat, and I want to beat somebody up. I want to do all kinds of things. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to talk about a lot of things. I mean, there's people beating my brains in.
Upbeat means you want to beat people up, boss?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm only teasing.
No, I'm not. I don't beat people up. Ali Scar, my man.
Let's give shout outs to, I'm looking at the chat right now. We have Steve, Kenneth Sponberg, J. Marie, Al Starr, Francisco. Let's see, there's Amy, Duncan, Saul, Carl, Alice, Dave in Pittsburgh. Everybody, hey guys, welcome back to Monday Live. Thanks for tuning in. How was your weekend? It was very monsoony over here.
Yeah, we had a monsoon. It rained for 2 days straight. There was flooding. I never heard of that in Arizona, but there was flooding and all kinds of things. I looked in my backyard. There's some dirt, and it was where Lily goes to the bathroom, and it was flooded up in there. So, but it wasn't the worst, but I don't know what parts, maybe different parts of Arizona was worse. I ran out of cigars, so I went to the store. I didn't have a problem with the roads or anything. One place, a tree was down. I had to wait a few minutes to get around it. So it wasn't really that bad where I am, but it rained. It rained like there was no tomorrow.
We had flooding all over the place around
here. And I started to build an ark right away. On the second day, I started to build an ark. I got my dog Lily. I said, Lily, I think we're going to go out, get some more puppies or somebody bring them here. So I didn't do that. Okay. I'm ready as spaghetti.
Or actually, you know what? No, before I get into the chat.
There's somebody on a honeymoon right now.
Yeah, no, they're not. It's not their honeymoon. I want to give a quick shout out to Janine and Anthony Mario. Janine just had a beautiful, healthy baby girl, and her husband, Anthony, is a first-time father, and she said that he has been nothing but her rock through and through, and he watches you religiously, that sometimes, she says, it feels like there's sit-downs going on in your basement because he's just watching your show, Sammy.
Anthony Mario, pleasure to talk to you. But your wife just had a baby. It's your anniversary. You need a loan because you got to buy her a lot of presents.
Yeah, you got to get that push present out.
Yeah. A lot of gifts, a lot of things, holidays. But that's great. That's great news. Is there any other questions?
From them, no. We're just going to wish them a happy anniversary and a congratulations.
Congratulations. And like I said, go out and get some flowers and some gifts.
Keep us posted. I want to see baby pics.
Huh?
Janine, send some baby pics. We'd love to see you guys.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Okay, so let's start with the questions. I will start off with Nick N. He says, Sammy, your Mafia money episode recently was great. Did anyone ever find buried Mafia money or gold by accident, or did you ever forget where some was buried? Because the mob were involved in so many hits, couldn't that mean that there's still money that's buried today? Good luck with your lobster with a mobster. That sounds dope. By the way, your recent story about your sit down with Chin, where you both gave guys a pass on getting whacked, was probably the best story I've ever heard you tell.
It was a great story. I love that story because Chin, I was amazed with him. He was fair, he was open, he was honest, he was tough. I gained a ton of respect for him that day. So I liked the story. It was really a good story. And as far as people not remembering where they buried money, if you have Alzheimer's disease, maybe, but I don't think very many people forget where they buried money. I don't know of any, and I certainly didn't. One time I dug a little bit to the wrong spot, and then I was like a groundhog. I was digging up everything. So I know. I think they know where they're burying their money, stuff like that. So I don't know of anybody who forgot it. Unless you're dead, and you didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
If I die and you see my son on his hands and knees digging somewhere, you know, he knew where it was.
Redman has a question. He said, Sammy, recently I heard something about John Gotti having a child with another wise guy's wife. Do you know anything about this and who this wise guy was? And was it well known to all the guys? I was shocked when I heard about this because it's really a sensitive rule in Cosa Nostra, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I know the story. He wasn't a made guy. He was an associate. Not part of the death penalty to do that, but it's a horrible thing to do. He knew the guy was a street guy. He was up and coming. He got pinched. And he actually encouraged the guy to take a plea to go to jail so he could keep banging her. It was a terrible move. I know the woman. I'm not going to say her name. I know her mother. I knew them from Staten Island. And supposedly she had John Gotti's baby because her husband was in prison at the time. There was an issue with the Gotti family and whatever. The story is true, a horrible story, but I won't mention her name or the mother's name or who they are. They're friends, as far as I'm concerned, with my family.
Couple of other shout outs. Darren Shaw says, can you get a shout out to Leo and Paul?
Leo and Paul.
Mm-hmm. And then, let's see. There's a few more in here. It's okay, I'll go through them. But I do want to acknowledge Kenneth Sponberg, who is one of your loyal listeners. Before I ask the question that he asked, I want everybody to just say a prayer for his mom and give her well wishes. Her cancer has spread to her brain. So we are with you, Kenneth. We're sending you prayers and healing for your mother.
Absolutely, Kenneth. Listen, this morning I had a thing that I wanted to happen in the worst way. It wasn't happening. I prayed to God this morning, and it happened. I'm praying for your mother right now. I hope it happens. I get a second request from God, and He helps your mom. You know, and I know what it is. I lost both my father and my mother to heart attacks and stuff like that, and I know what it is. It's horrible. But I'm pray for her, and I wish you the best. Stay strong with it. That's what she's going to want.
Yes, please give her our best, Kenneth. Okay, so the question from Kenneth is, Sammy, can you explain why Gotti had Robert DB killed? Because in the movie Gotti, it presents it as your idea. Wasn't it Gotti's idea?
It wasn't really, to be honest, it really wasn't Gotti's idea. Angelo's idea, his guy. Gotti was in prison at the time. I was doing a lot of good things with DB. He was a good friend of mine. Angelo, unbeknownst to me or John Gotti, borrowed $250,000 off of DB. And he got into an argument with DB when Frankie DeChico was killed. They were arguing, and Angelo said, I'm going to be the next underboss. I grew up with John. And DB said, no, Angelo, you're a tough guy, but you don't have the brains to be the underboss. And Angelo was offended by it and said, who's going to be the boss, you? And he said, no, not me, maybe Sammy. And Angelo took a fit about it, was quiet, borrowed $250,000, made up a story to John Gotti, said, because I didn't see him when he was in prison. I couldn't even get messages from him. But that DB was talking behind his back, which was bullshit. When he sent an order out to me that he wanted John DB killed, I sent a message back with his brother. Let's put it on hold. I don't see where DB's done anything wrong. Let's talk about it when you get out. He reached out to Joe Piney, who took Frankie DeChico's spot as the underboss. Piney called me in and said, Sammy, John wants him gone. You got the order? Do it. I was stuck with it, and I did it. But I later found out, if I wish I would have known that Angelo took a $250,000 loan. But at the time, I didn't know that. I found it out later. But that's why he was killed. I was ordered by not only him, but Joe Piney. I really didn't know the background of what was going on. And I didn't really have a choice. I really didn't want to do this. DB stuck up for me a bunch of times. DB wasn't a pornography guy like they say. He was a distributor of pornography. One of the biggest distributors in the world. One day he came over as a friend. He said, Sammy, you want to do an X-rated movie? I laughed. I joked a little bit. And I said, listen, I don't know nothing about that business. I have no knowledge. He said, I can get people who do the movie. He don't do it either. He says, and I distribute it. I could get it done for about $30,000. A real good movie. And we'll make nothing but money. I said, listen, I don't even have the money for my end. I really don't want to get involved. He says, I'll put up all the money. I'll distribute it. When I get my $30,000 back, then we'll cut it up. That's a friend. I was a little short at that time in money, so that's a friend. I had no reason to kill DB whatsoever. I hope his daughter and somebody hears this because they think for some reason I killed him, but there would be no reason, and there's a few things that DB did for me. Took my back a bunch of times. And we were close. So.
Okay. The second question Kenneth had for you was, Sammy, how did made guys hide their wealth from the IRS? I know you had legitimate businesses as well, but was it enough to cover the millions of dollars coming in from your construction companies, etc.?
No, listen, you hide it as much as you can. You say you made more money, you made money gambling. There's a lot of ways to pay. They never argue with you about paying taxes. So you can beef it up and pay some taxes. Legitimate money is worth more than cash money because you could buy things, you could do things. So guys do that, and guys do a lot of things. And a lot of times, like when I had too much money and I couldn't even wash it at that time, they call it washing it, I would buy gold. So gold is a strong item. You could buy it, put it away, nobody sees it. So that's a good way to hide some money too. And later on in life, gold goes up in value, and that gold that you may have buried $40,000 worth of gold. A couple of years later, it's worth $50,000. So you made money while it was buried. So gold was a good way. Jewelry, certain jewelry was a good way. Real diamonds, good diamonds, stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways to hide money. Like I said, the IRS don't give a shit. They're not looking at you for paying more. They're looking at you for paying less. So it's pretty easy to hide money, wash it. And like I said, legitimate money in the bank or stocks or bonds is worth more than money, cash buried somewhere. What are you going to do with it?
I am going to jump into the super chat. So we have our question from Liam Patrick. He said, "Hi, Sam. Can you describe John's mood and reaction to his brother, John Gotti, and John Carneglia getting sentenced to 50 years? Both were valuable men to the family."
Well, I don't think anybody liked them getting sentenced to 50 years. But the biggest problem was that the brother and Johnny Carneglia, they were being sentenced under old law. They were offered a plea of 12 years. They could have took that plea on 12 years, old law, they would have did about 8. The both of them wanted to do that. He said, no, you're not allowed to take a plea. It's ratting. It's not ratting. A million guys took pleas. And they went to trial. They lost, and they got 50 years. I think Charlie Carneglia resented that whole thing, that he was refused and he was made to go to court. I mean, every day he did time. He did 30-something years, or 30, 31, 32, whatever it was, maybe more. I know he resented it in prison because every year that he's in prison, he's probably saying to himself, especially when 8 years came up, I would have been out. Now, the next 12 years of his life, 20-something years of his life, he took a plea. He went to trial for nothing. They had him cold cocked. He could have took a plea, got 12, did 8 on the 12. So I know he resented it. He was a real good guy, tough guy, good guy, and Jeannie as well. I always say that Jeannie, in my opinion, was the best of the Gottis. Of all the brothers, John Gotti and all of them, Jeannie was the best. I think Gotti knew that because he put him on his side all the time. He got him out of the way. Matter of fact, Jeannie, I believe, was a captain for a short time, and John took him down. I don't know why, but, internal family bullshit sometimes. I don't know what it was.
I've got El Gato in the super chat. No question or comment.
El Gato? It's my man. I even like that name, El Gato. It's just a real good, strong, solid name. El Gato, leave Betty Ann alone.
J. Marie, boss, you had a lot of money on the streets, and I was wondering how many payments does someone have to miss before catching a beating or a rough up? Did you have many of those issues?
Yeah. When I first, J. Marie, when I was younger and I was letting out small monies, it was always an issue. Guys weren't paying. When I got older and I was maid guy or I was higher ranking or captain or above, guys pay you right away. There's not too many issues with paying. So guys who didn't pay were usually somebody who's really broke. There's no sense in me giving them a beating or having somebody give them a beating. So what I would do is call them in. And I would say, okay, I know you're broke. You were gambling. Stop gambling. I'm going to make it a knockdown because it's a point loan, points. So I would make it a knockdown. You owe me $10,000, let's say. Every week you come in with something, $50, $100, $500, and it'll come off the top. And I got paid that way, and it's not accumulating juice, and I'm not burying the guy. So I would do that right away. There was no reason, and guys didn't stiff me. They knew my name, my reputation, and my rank, so I never got stiffed. And I wasn't giving it to brokesters. I was giving it to maid guys or captains wanted to borrow 50 or 100,000 on a point. It was 2 points at one time. I only made it at 1 point, and I would get the vig every week. And when it came time, they paid back. So usually a bookmaking office was stuck. They needed to borrow 150,000 or 200,000 for a short period of time to stay in business. I give them the money. A guy who's going into business, I didn't want to give a guy who was a junkie or a guy who just, I know he's not going to be able to pay back. So I didn't give money to those people. I did when I was young. That was the problem.
Okay. I have Zeppelin Mar in the super chat. When Vinny Governara decked Nino Gaggi, did Vinny know Nino was a made man?
Vinny who?
It says Governara.
Oh, Gravano. Yeah, Vinny Mook.
Okay, Vinny Mook. Did Vinny know Nino was a made man? And could Vinny's parents have paid Nino to have the contract on their son lifted?
No, Vinny Mook was a tough bastard. He used to box. He was a street fighter, very tough. There was a couple of brothers, him, Louis Bop, a few of them, Arthur Bop. No, when he was flirting with some woman who was with Nino Gaggi. I'm not sure if it was his wife or sister. I don't know who it was. And he said something to Vinny Mook. Vinny Mook hit him. He didn't know who he was. He wasn't a maid guy. He was a captain. And he was the head of Roy DeMeo's crew. So when that happened, he got in touch with Roy DeMeo, and got the crew, and they were looking to kill him. The first attempt they made was they blew Vinnie Mook up in a car. The car exploded, and he went flying out of the car. He got hurt, went under lamp for a while, came back. When he came back, Nino was having a party at his house. His nephew was there, Dominic. Roy D'Amato come over to the house and said, listen, Vinnie Mook is on 20th Avenue right now. He was just parking his car. I seen him. Nino got his nephew. They loaded up. They went to 20th Avenue, and they shot him to death. I mean, you couldn't have paid him off. But if, a maid guy would have stepped in, like if I was a maid guy, I would have stepped in and I would have said, listen, Nino, he apologizes. He didn't know who you were. And he's a tough guy. I mean, give him a pass, bro. And I think Nino would have given him a pass. But it never happened, and he wound up getting killed.
All right, next question comes from Instagram from Antonio. He says, Sammy, I'm an Italian-Australian from Southern Italian parents. I became a police officer, but always wondered if I went the other way. Did you ever wonder how life would be if you became a cop?
I didn't think about it when I was younger, older. Sometimes I watch these movies on television and I think about it. Of course, they're going around and they're trying to solve a case. Sometimes I can solve a case. I look at some of these murders that are happening on television. It seems like every day there's murders. I woke up the other day and a guy comes in on a boat in North Carolina and he shoots up a restaurant. They got the guy. He's still alive. They arrested him. Why he did it and whatever. So it makes me think that way. It makes me think like a cop. If I was a cop, what would I think? What would I look at? And that same day, later on that day, there's a guy who goes and crashes into a church with his truck, sets the church on fire, jumps out, starts shooting people, Mormon, Christians. I mean, I don't even know what's going on anymore. I see this every single day. These people are insane. The kid who did that with the Mormon church, not only he did that, I think he's one of them who put the gun to his head and shot himself after he did all that shit. It really is a crime. It's a shame. But you know what it is? I feel that the Democrats and the Republicans, the politicians are arguing all the time. And these raving maniacs are listening to this. They're picking a side or whatever they do, and then they go out and kill somebody. Like that kid or whatever's going on with this Charlie Kirk thing. I mean, it really is a shame. Good people are getting killed for nothing. I watched it this morning. The Democrats were going to sit down with Trump to get a bill passed so that they could keep running the government. And they're fighting tooth and nail, the Democrats, not to pay the bill, not to conform to what he wants. Why don't you just turn around and say, okay, you think this is going to work? Let's do it and see how it works. If it helps the country, good. But no, he's going to a meeting and he's on television preaching how he's going to say no. But he's blaming the Republicans. And he's calling them names. That is setting people who lost their mind or are out of their mind completely to do things, to pick a side and do things. The politicians have got to stop. They've got to stop. You guys are motivating these lunatics to do what they got to do. It seems to be every single one. These are senseless, brutal things that is screwing up the whole country. It's got to stop. And, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, whatever you are, force your people to stop. with the name calling Trump a Nazi and this and that. I don't care if you don't like him. Don't like him. But calling him a Nazi, and demented people are listening to you. They're screaming, go against him, riot, have in the street. Why would you say things like that? I mean, it's really screwing up the country. And all of my fans, all you guys who listen to me, be careful. If your son or your daughter is taking a side in a very serious way, slow their ass down a little bit. Why don't we preach love and kindness to one another? I was a tough kid. All my neighbors, we never even answered them. Sammy, get the fuck off the porch. I left. I didn't argue, didn't fight, didn't listen to this kind of shit when I was growing up. I don't remember this. The news media, I remember when I was a kid, whatever the news media said, you could take it to the bank, it was gospel. Now they lie about everything. They pick the side. I don't even know how to solve it. I hear some idiots who on YouTube, guy wants to be a governor of a state and this and that and the other thing. It's got a history worse than mine. And, you just asked me a question, did I ever think about being a cop? Not really. I mean, I was a soldier, and I thought about being a soldier. But I don't think cops are bad. I thought about it. It's if you're a legitimate cop and you're helping people, I would never want to give out tickets. That's ball breaking. I don't give a fuck who goes through a red light or speeds or does anything. I mean, but a crime, senseless crimes, I would go after them. Listen, when there was the Son of Sam as a young kid, I wasn't a gangster yet, but I wanted the guy caught, and I wasn't a cop because he was killing young couples sitting in a car for nothing, for no reason, for making out. And the Mafia in Brooklyn, I remember it, were actually helping the cops to catch this guy. We have daughters and sons sitting in a car making out, kissing, and you're going to shoot them? For what? So, now I think, not to be a cop, I would, I think what it would be like for me to be a politician. The way I think. When I heard a couple of people talking like that, I know I could never get elected as a governor of Arizona. But I thought about it. I said, what would I do? I know things I would do. I think I would fix Arizona, if I was a politician, better than they are. Much better. I think it's not, they're not stupid people. They got to be doing this on purpose. There's a reason behind it. Either they're stealing money like a bastard, but I think if I was, I fantasize about that on occasion. What would I do if I was the president? Or what would I do if I was a governor or a senator or whatever it is? I really don't want to be one, but I sometimes think about it. So I fantasize about it. That's a little retarded, right? I'm fantasizing about being a governor, but
TikTok says that they have your vote.
Yeah.
They got a lot of people in there.
All right, all you guys out there, if you want me to be the governor of Arizona, let me know.